What if the greatest source of stress in your life isn't your job, your responsibilities, or even other people, but your own mind? Think about how often we replay conversations that are already over, worry about problems that haven't happened, or compare ourselves with others. Our bodies may be here, but our minds are somewhere else. We rush through today while thinking about tomorrow, and in chasing the future, we slowly lose the present. Today's story is about learning one of the most powerful skills we can develop, not controlling the world around us, but understanding the world within us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Inspired Pages, where we explore books that help us live with greater wisdom, deeper peace, and clearer thinking. Today's book is Mindfulness in Plain English by Bhante Henepola Gunaratana. Unlike many books about meditation, it avoids complicated spiritual language and focuses on something practical, learning to pay attention to the present moment. Gunaratana begins with a simple question: where is your mind right now? It may be thinking about work, remembering the past, or worrying about tomorrow. Very rarely is it completely here. This constant mental movement has become so normal that we hardly notice it, yet it can be a major source of stress and dissatisfaction. Our minds keep jumping from one concern to another, leaving us exhausted not only by what actually happens, but by everything we imagine. Mindfulness offers another way. It teaches us to become aware of what is happening right now without immediately judging it, resisting it, or trying to change it. And while that sounds simple, it takes practice. One of the biggest lessons in the book is that meditation is not about emptying the mind. Thoughts will continue to appear, and that is completely normal. The goal is not to eliminate thoughts, but to notice them. Imagine sitting beside a river and watching leaves float past. You don't jump into the water to catch every leaf, you simply watch them pass. Thoughts can be treated the same way. Instead of chasing every thought or believing every story your mind creates, we can observe them as they appear and disappear. That small shift creates freedom because we begin to realize that we are not our thoughts, we are the ones observing them. This awareness also changes the way we respond to life. Most of us react automatically. Someone criticizes us and we become angry. Traffic slows down and we become impatient. Something unexpected happens and anxiety takes over. But mindfulness teaches us to notice the small space between what happens and how we respond. Inside that space, we have a choice. We don't have to follow every emotion or fearful thought. Sometimes, freedom begins with nothing more than a single mindful pause. And mindfulness isn't reserved for monks or people living in monasteries. It is meant for ordinary people living ordinary lives. We can practice while drinking tea, washing dishes, walking to work, or listening to someone speak. The goal isn't to escape life, but to become fully present for it. Gunaratana reminds us that we often live on autopilot, checking our phones, rushing through meals, driving without noticing the journey, and moving through entire weeks without truly experiencing them. Mindfulness invites us to wake up. But waking up also requires acceptance. Many people approach personal growth by trying to fix themselves, believing something is wrong with them. Mindfulness begins differently. It begins with seeing ourselves clearly and accepting what is present. Acceptance does not mean refusing to grow. It simply means we cannot change what we refuse to see, and we cannot understand ourselves while constantly running away from our thoughts and emotions. This is why mindfulness remains so relevant. Beneath all our technology, distractions, and modern pressures, the human mind is still searching for the same thing: peace. Not peace that depends on perfect circumstances, but peace that can remain even when life is uncertain. And that journey can begin with something incredibly simple: one breath, one moment, one act of awareness at a time. As the book continues, Gunaratana explains that mindfulness is more than a meditation technique. It is a way of living. Meditation is simply the training ground where we learn to observe the mind honestly and patiently. The real purpose is to carry that awareness into everyday life. The mind, he explains, is like a wild animal. Left untrained, it runs wherever it wants, back to yesterday's mistakes, forward to tomorrow's fears, or into imaginary situations that may never happen. Mindfulness helps us observe this restless movement instead of being controlled by it. We begin to ask, is this thought true? Is it useful? Or is it simply another habit of the mind? This matters because much of our thinking is repetitive. We worry about the same problems, replay the same disappointments, and imagine the same fears, yet very little changes. The mind often mistakes constant activity for productivity. But thinking is not always the same as solving. Sometimes the wiser choice is to notice the thought, let it pass, and gently return to the present. That return is also where patience begins. Modern life teaches us to expect instant results, but mindfulness reminds us that real growth is gradual. Beginners often become frustrated when their minds wander during meditation, believing they are failing. Gunaratana explains that noticing the wandering is actually part of the practice. Every time attention drifts and we calmly bring it back to the breath, we strengthen awareness. The exercise isn't perfect focus. The exercise is returning. And this lesson extends beyond meditation. Life itself is a practice of returning. When we lose patience, we return to patience. When we become distracted, we return to attention. When fear overwhelms us, we return to the present. Progress is not about never falling away, it is about how gently and consistently we return. The book also offers a different way of understanding emotions. We often believe emotions must either be suppressed or acted upon immediately. But mindfulness teaches us to observe them instead. Notice where an emotion appears in the body, notice how it changes, and notice how it eventually fades. Every emotion rises, stays for a while, and passes. Often, the problem is not the emotion itself, but our resistance to it. When we stop fighting an emotion and begin observing it with curiosity, its grip can slowly loosen. Gunaratana connects this to another major source of suffering: attachment. We become attached to pleasant experiences and want them to last. We cling to our opinions, possessions, relationships, success, and even our identity. But everything changes. People change, circumstances change, our bodies change, and even our thoughts change. When we expect life to remain exactly as we want it, disappointment becomes inevitable. Mindfulness teaches us to accept reality clearly before deciding how to respond to it. As this awareness grows, it also brings humility. We begin to notice how often the ego wants recognition, approval, and the feeling of being right. Instead of constantly asking whether we are better or worse than others, mindfulness brings us back to a simpler question: what is happening right now? When we no longer need to defend an image of ourselves, we experience a different kind of freedom. That freedom also improves our relationships. When we truly listen, people feel heard. When we understand our own emotions, we react less impulsively. When we notice our judgments, we become more compassionate. Many conflicts are not caused by the situation itself, but by unconscious reactions. Sometimes a single mindful breath before responding can completely change the direction of a conversation. In that sense, mindfulness is not only personal, it is relational. It also changes the way we experience ordinary life. Modern culture constantly tells us that happiness is somewhere in the future, when we earn more, buy something better, achieve a goal, or finally reach the life we want. But mindfulness asks us to look at what is already happening. What if this cup of tea deserves your full attention? What if this walk is more than a way to reach a destination? What if the person speaking to you deserves your complete presence? Our lives are made mostly of ordinary moments. If we miss those moments, we miss much of our lives. That is the quiet beauty of mindfulness. It does not ask us to become someone else. It asks us to wake up to the life we already have, to notice our breath, hear the sounds around us, appreciate the people we often take for granted, and recognize that peace can be found here, in this very moment. As the book moves toward its conclusion, Gunaratana brings us to another deep truth: everything changes. Every emotion rises and falls. Every success passes. Every disappointment fades. Even our own lives are temporary. Much of our suffering comes from resisting this reality. We hold tightly to what we want to keep and fight against what we want to disappear, even though life continues to move. Mindfulness teaches us to live with change rather than constantly fighting it. Imagine standing in a river and trying to stop the current with your hands. You would quickly become exhausted. But if you move with the water, the struggle changes. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how consciously we meet each moment. Acceptance is not giving up, it is seeing reality clearly before choosing the wisest response. As we understand our own struggles more deeply, compassion naturally grows. We begin to realize that everyone is carrying invisible burdens. Someone who seems angry may be hurting. Someone who appears impatient may be overwhelmed. Someone who seems distant may simply be exhausted. Mindfulness softens the heart without making it weak. It creates space for patience, understanding, and wiser responses without meaning we must tolerate mistreatment. The book also makes it clear that mindfulness does not remove difficult emotions or life's challenges. Sadness, anger, anxiety, disappointment, and uncertainty will still appear. The difference is how we relate to them. Instead of saying, "I am angry," we can recognize, anger is present. Instead of becoming trapped in anxiety, we can observe it as a temporary experience moving through the mind. That small distance gives us freedom because we no longer have to become prisoners of every feeling that appears. Another important lesson is letting go of the need for control. Much of our stress comes from trying to manage things that were never fully within our control: what others think, what tomorrow will bring, or what happened in the past. Mindfulness brings us back to the only place where we can truly act, the present moment. Right now, we can breathe, listen, choose kindness, and choose awareness instead of distraction. The present is where life unfolds, and it is where our greatest power exists. Over time, this practice changes us quietly. We may not notice dramatic results after a week or even a month, but gradually we become less reactive, recover faster from disappointment, appreciate simple moments more deeply, and worry less about things beyond our control. Others may even notice the change before we do. These quiet changes, not mystical experiences, but a calmer mind, a gentler heart, and a wiser way of living, are the real fruits of mindfulness. And mindfulness does not belong only on a meditation cushion. Every moment gives us another opportunity to practice. While waiting in line, we can notice our breathing instead of reaching for our phones. During a difficult conversation, we can observe our emotions before responding. While eating, we can actually taste the food. While walking, we can notice the sounds, the wind, and the world around us. Little by little, awareness begins to enter every part of daily life. Perhaps that is the greatest gift of mindfulness in plain English. It teaches us that peace is not something we discover after solving every problem. It is something we cultivate while life continues exactly as it is. And mindfulness is a lifelong journey. There is no finish line where we become perfectly peaceful or completely free from distraction. Some days will be calm, others restless. Both are part of the practice. The goal is not perfection. The goal is presence, to keep returning, again and again, with patience and kindness, without judging ourselves. Ultimately, the quality of our lives depends not only on what happens to us, but on how consciously we experience what happens. We cannot stop change, eliminate uncertainty, or avoid every difficulty. But we can learn to meet each moment with awareness instead of resistance. Perhaps true happiness has never been hiding somewhere in the future. Perhaps it has been waiting quietly in this breath, this step, this conversation, and this ordinary moment we usually rush past. That is the timeless wisdom of mindfulness in plain English. Peace is not created by controlling the world around us. It grows from understanding the world within us. The more present we become, the more clearly we see, and the more clearly we see, the more freely we live. If today's story helped you slow down, reflect, or look at your own mind with a little more kindness, make sure to subscribe to Inspired Pages. Every week, we explore books that inspire deeper thinking, lasting growth, and a more meaningful life. And if you know someone who feels overwhelmed, constantly worries about the future, or is searching for a little more peace, share this video with them. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can offer is simply a reminder to pause, breathe, and return to the present moment. Remember, you don't need a perfect life to experience peace. You only need the willingness to be fully present for the life you already have. This is Inspired Pages. Stay present, stay aware, find peace in the ordinary, and keep growing.